It's 6 o'clock, and I'd like to call the Stanley County Board of Commissioners regular meeting for Monday, November 1st, 2021 to order. And would like to welcome those in attendance. And if you're watching this via YouTube, we welcome you also. At this time, I would like to call on Commissioner Zach Almond for the invocation and Pledge of Allegiance.
Let us pray. Father God, thank you for this time that you've given us. Thank you for the country we live in. Thank you for those who've fought to give us the freedoms that we have. God, I thank you for this county, and I pray that you bless our meeting today, give us discernment, bless everybody in attendance. God, I pray for those suffering with COVID and other illnesses, and ask you bless our county and bless our meeting. In Jesus' name I pray, amen. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Commissioner Almond. Would ask the commissioners to look over the agenda, and I'm seeking approval, or if there's any adjustments, let's talk about them.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir, Commissioner Eford.
Make a motion we approve as presented.
Second.
We have a first by Commissioner Eford, second by Vice Chairman Jordan. Any other discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Motion carries. Sorry, didn't ask for a no vote. Anyone against? Motion carries. Public comments. We did not have anyone to sign up tonight, but I'm going to ask if there's any public comments from anyone in the audience. If you'd like to come up right now, please come forward. Don't see anyone, so let's move on to the second item. Senior Service Advisory Board appointment. Presenter is Pamela Sullivan. Welcome, Pamela.
Good evening, Commissioners. The Senior Service Advisory Board has 4 members whose terms are ending. They are Gail Barbie, Christine Vaughn, Ann Louder, and Kent Trull. These members represent the western and the southern part of the county, as well as the medical and legal field requirements for board members. Our advisory board bylaws state that board members can elect to be reappointed with commissioner approval for another 3-year term if they choose to do so. All 4 of these 4 board members have agreed to serve our department for another term. I'm here tonight to respectfully request that Gail Barbie, Chris Vaughn, Ann Louder, and Kent Trull be reappointed to the advisory board for another 3-year term ending October 31st, 2024.
Pamela.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I respectfully request that Gail Barbie, Chris Vaughn, Ann Louder, and Kent Trull be reappointed to the Senior Services Advisory Board for a 3-year term ending on 10/30/2024.
Okay, have a first and a second by Commissioner Barbie, first by Vice Chairman Jordan. Any other discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
7-0. Thank you. EDC Project Ordinance Budget Amendment for Riverstone Infrastructure Improvements. Presenter is Candace Louder, our EDC Director. Candace.
Good evening, Chairman, members of the board. Come before you tonight to request a budget ordinance and amendment, capital project ordinance and budget amendment for additional improvements for the Riverstone Industrial Park. These infrastructure improvements are needed to support the American Racing Headers project that was announced in April of this year. These improvements will widen and pave the access road and extend the water line to the end of the parcel where the company plans to construct the new facility. We request that the capital project ordinance and budget amendment be adopted to establish the project fund for a total of $663,267 for the improvements at the park, to receive grant funds totaling $300,000 from the Rural Infrastructure Authority and $200,000 for the Golden Leaf Foundation, and appropriate $163,267 from the general fund for the required local match for the project. The budget ordinance, budget amendment and project ordinance are in your packets. Be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Candace? Don't see anyone. What's the pleasure of the board?
Okay, I'll do all the talking. Mr. Chairman, I make the motion that the capital project ordinance be established and the budget amendment approved to receive grant funds from the Rural Infrastructure Authority and the Golden Leaf Foundation and appropriate the required local match from the general fund and expend funds for the infrastructure improvement.
I have a motion by Vice Chairman Jordan, second by Commissioner Almond. Any other discussion about capital project ordinance? Don't hear any questions, so let's vote. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you.
Thank you, Candace. COVID-19 update, presenters David Jenkins, Consolidated Health and Human Service Director.
Good evening,
Jenkins.
Commissioners. I don't know where I'm at here. There we go. All right, just want to provide you all with the latest information on COVID-19 as it relates to Stanley County. Latest COVID-19 data, last week we were around 20 some odd daily cases. Hospitalizations have been lingering around 16 to 18 over the past couple weeks, I'd say. Deaths are unfortunately at 197 for the county as a whole. That's a cumulative total. Our total cases are now at 11,652. Percent positive has gone to 5.6%, which is good to see that continuing to trend down. Breakthrough cases are 469. I've had the question posed, I believe it was at a previous commissioner meeting and with some other community members about breakthrough deaths. And I would say since Delta hit, we've had, of those breakthrough cases, we've had 2 breakthrough deaths, unfortunately, since July of 2021. So overall, it's proves that the vaccine is, again, effective in preventing hospitalizations and deaths overall. And you'll still have a few deaths associated with COVID, even with people that are vaccinated, especially as it relates to some of your populations that may be immunocompromised or older and just cannot build up enough immunity to protect themselves from this virus. So our first dose percentage is at 43%, and we're still around 40% for our second dose at this time. So we'd like to continue to try to improve those numbers. And this is our latest information from May 2nd to October 23rd. As you can show, this graph indicates our positive cases and our percent positive, and as you can see, we're trending in the right direction. Yes, sir.
Back up one slide for a moment.
Sure. Yes, sir. Any questions or comments about either of those slides so far?
Yeah, just I was thinking what's interesting is that we've had 197 deaths since COVID started. That would have been, February of last year? And the deaths in July, I know the individual deaths per month were 1 in July, 13 in August, 20 in September, and 20 in October. So that's basically 54. So basically 1/4 of the deaths after we've known about this virus for over a year happened in the last
Few months.
3 months,
Yep.
4 months, which is really sad, and it's a shame, and I just wish we could have done more to help slow the spread and stop the spread, because this has not been good. I mean, at first people knew people who died, but now we're literally knowing people who are dying, and we're still kind of right now even being lax about it.
Level of county transmission, although we're around 5.6%, close to 5% is considered low transmission. But keep in mind, even with that, our level of county transmission throughout just North Carolina, not just Stanley County, is still high. That's because the case rate's still high, which means we still have a high number of positives per population of 100,000, which is a formula I use to determine, make that more level playing field for population. So as long as that case rate's still up there, the recommendation from the state DHHS is to wear a mask if you're indoors and you can't socially distance, or in your area where it's high traffic. That's still a good recommendation at this time. Percent of population fully vaccinated, just gives a lay of the land for the state in general of where the percentage of populations fall. Obviously, it's you're anywhere from, you have some that are under 39%, some counties under 39%, and you have some 40 to 44%, and we have some that are well over 60%. So there's definitely some diversity throughout the state. Again, I want to provide a cumulative total comparison from the last meeting, I guess it was about a month or so ago, where we've seen increases by population by age group, and you can see those numbers there. Quite a big jump in the 25 to 49 range, so it's good to see that number and improve there. A little bit about the vaccine. We've been dealing with a lot of, preparing for the vaccines with the third doses and the boosters, and second dose of Moderna. Pfizer was 6 months ago. You're approved, and you meet the other following criteria: being 65 and older, long-term care resident, 18 to 64 with underlying conditions, or 18 to 64 who work in high-risk settings. And those are kind of some examples there. You can receive an influenza vaccine at the same time as COVID vaccine booster, so those wanting to receive their flu shot as well, that is available at the same time as your booster, if you prefer. With Johnson & Johnson booster at this time, 18 and older and vaccinated more than 2 months ago with the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, or those that are eligible for that booster. And Pfizer, children 5 to 11, FDA is approved. We're waiting for CDC to meet tomorrow, and AIPS and CDC meet tomorrow and Wednesday to make a decision, but we have ordered our vaccine. We know we have our first initial wave of 300 coming, and we prepared with other 2 orders of waves coming in the following weeks. Don't know exactly what that amount will be due to supply and demand, but we are prepared to provide those once the approval's given. Moderna boosters, the health department still providing on Monday and Tuesdays. Obviously, depending upon supply and demand. Pfizer boosters on Wednesdays, and then 5 to 11, once approved by CDC, we'll probably likely try to provide those on Wednesdays again. Always as a friendly reminder, COVID-19 hotline 980-323-0205, 9 to 4:30 Monday through Friday for anybody that's interested in getting a vaccine or receiving a vaccine. And that's all I have for this evening, Commissioners. Any questions or comments, I'll do my best to answer.
If I could just share a couple of things, as y'all know, I've said before, I'm part of the Atrium Vaccine Ambassadors, and this is information I got last week that I think is very important. First of all, I want to interject that back in June, I think we were down for a 1.6% positivity rate or something in June, and it shows you how fast this virus comes back. We went from 1.9% and 1 death in June and 1 death in July to those deaths I mentioned in August, September, and October. That's how fast it comes. And of the kids, I thought this was an interesting stat, that so far we've had the children 5 to 11, we've had 1.9 million between 5 to 11 have been infected with the virus. 88,300 have been hospitalized, and there have been 94 deaths of kids with 5 to 11 with COVID throughout the country. And that is now in the top 10 reasons for death, causes of death for that age group. And the other thing to remember about those kids is that those kids don't live alone. They got parents, brothers, sisters, grandparents, babysitters, all that they interact with. So as they catch it, they bring it to other people who are more susceptible. That's why I don't understand people saying, well, kids don't get it. Yeah, they survive it, kids survive it, but how many of their grandparents and parents have passed away from it? And then I'm going to shut up after this. I promise. You knock that gavel down if I say anything else after this, Commissioner Lawhon. Get that thing ready. Get that thing ready. But I thought this was an interesting statistics for the month of September. I got this.
Talk fast.
I got this from, like I said, from Adrian Health, and this is the top causes of daily deaths in the United States of America in the month of September. Actually, top 11. 126 people a day died per suicide. 145 a day for renal failure. Other diseases of the respiratory system, 182. Diabetes, 280 people of diabetes died daily in September. Alzheimer, 327 people passed away from Alzheimer's in the month of September in our country. 377, number 6, with chronic lower respiratory disease. Stroke, 440 people a day died from a stroke in our country in September. Accidents, 553. Cancer, number 3, 1,636 people a day died of cancer in September. COVID, number 2, 1,800 people died a day. That was the second leading cause of death in the month of September, daily cause of death in our country. And then heart disease, 2,078. So this is a serious thing, and winter is coming. I think it's going to be, I just say, I hope the best for Stanley County, because at this point, we only got 40% of the people who have been vaccinated, and the flu's coming, and there's going to be a lot of people that won't be able to tell the difference between the flu and COVID, and I hope to God they just don't spread it. And my promise to you, Bill, if I open my mouth during this, you bring that gavel out. I'm done. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I do have a question.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Jenkins, the people that took the J&J vaccine, I know I read that you can mix them if you didn't want, if the J&J wasn't available for a booster. Are there one, Moderna or Pfizer, that they recommend that's better than the other?
Either one, their choice, you know, but that is certainly the case. They could, if they want to go with that messenger RNA vaccine to get that extra immunity boost, then they're welcome to choose, depending on which one they want to utilize. Yes, sir. Good question.
I have a comment.
Yes, sir.
One, thank you guys for all you've been doing. It's something we haven't said in a while. I know things have, from our perspective, up here compared to where y'all are in the trenches, have seemed to have gotten back to normal. So we tend to forget that you guys are still running as hard as you possibly can, trying to stay on top of this. I know I was part of all the conference calls and the meetings, and I just had a very small glimpse into that for a short amount of time, and you're still doing it every day, you and your staff. So thank you guys, and I hope there's a light at the end of that tunnel.
So do we.
I'm a math person. I like statistics, and just based off the numbers you gave, I mean, you know, I can't argue about fatality rates for anywhere else. I'm not going to. I'm just of 11,652 cases in Stanley County and 197 passed away. It's 1.6% died. Of 469 breakthroughs, 2 passed away. It's 0.4%. There should be no argument, at least in our county, that the vaccine is 400% more effective at stopping you from staying on the other side of the grass.
Yep, and I believe I've heard the exact percentage thrown out before, so that was some good, quick math there.
That's how the math shows up for Stanley, so I appreciate it, sir. Thank you.
Yep, we appreciate you, and I guess we'll see you Thursday to do this again, right?
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Item number 5 is zoning 21-10 Austin Road Telecommunication Tower Overlay District. Presenter Bob Remsburg, our planning director. Bob.
Good to see you, commissioners, this evening. Mr. Chairman, we have a telecommunication tower before you this evening. This one is on Austin Road. Verizon Wireless, through Cellco Partnership, has made the request as a 10,000 square foot portion of a parcel owned by Lynn Bowers Hunter over on Austin Road, just west of Ridgecrest Road, tax record 2413. The property is currently zoned RA, contains 36.6 acres, as mentioned, owned by Lynn Hunter, who's here tonight. Adjacent properties are zoned RA, residential agricultural as well. Again, I mentioned 10,000 square feet. It's for a 195-foot tower, which is the kind of maximum size that they can be under our zoning. A sketch plan for the proposed project showing the location and 30-foot easement's been provided. I've got an image of that coming up. Area is partially wooded, especially on the north side. Vegetative buffer is proposed along the other sides of the perimeter of the leased area. The location meets all the requirements of the zoning ordinance to have towers located away from roadways and to encourage co-location when feasible, meets all setback requirements based on the distance of a fall area of 100 feet from the engineer's report. Closest existing homes are about 650 feet away from the tower, actually over that distance. No other towers are in the coverage area that are available for co-location. Access will be from a drive on Austin Road through that 30-foot easement. As you can imagine, there's no effect on traffic. There are about 470 vehicles per day on that section of Austin Road, per the last DOT report. Not in a growth area per the 2010 land use plan, although cell towers really doesn't affect that too much. Unanimously recommended for approval by the planning board at their public meeting held on October 11th, and there was no opposition present at that meeting. This is the property involved there on Austin Road. Austin Road's on the south side of your screen. You can see there's a piece of property kind of inserted into this, if you said inverted U shaped property. And I think my next slide, it shows the zoning. Almost everything around there is RA with a couple of highway businesses along Ridgecrest Road, not too far away. I remember there was an old country store there on Ridgecrest Road for many years. And one of those locations is not currently in operation. This is maybe a little tricky to see. The property line is basically where the road, access road is going to this, and you can see the cell towers in the back corner, the northwest corner of the property. The fall zone is the dotted line, so they're more than 100 feet from the property line for the location of the tower itself. This is, of course, the standard tower design. It's a monopole tower. We don't allow lattice towers in the RA district, so it's a single pole with the various antenna at the top, of course. The company did provide us with some views of this. This is a view from Austin Road. It's with the tower superimposed, so you can see where that is. The bigger tower that you see closer to you is actually a telephone pole across the property, and it's planted in corn this year. I don't know if it's been cut yet. And then you can see another view from Austin Road as well. I think a couple other views. This is, I believe, the intersection at Ridgecrest and Austin Road, so you cannot see it from that intersection. And likewise, I think this is further around, maybe looking actually from Ridgecrest Road back toward it. But anyhow, it's not particularly visible. Most of this is the coverage map. You can see the towers right in the middle of the map here. Proposed tower location. This is the existing coverage map, and then, of course, as you can imagine, when you activate that tower, it fills in a lot of that hole there in the middle. Any questions, I guess?
Any questions?
I got one that's just not about the tower in specific, but I do know, I think we have a 200-foot limit.
It's 199 feet. It's really an FAA sort of regulation.
That was my question. Is that something in Stanley County zoning, or is that a FAA regulation?
Well, we reflect the FAA rule. It is in our zoning ordinance, though, but it's reflective of the rule that FAA has.
Pretty much, you can't build a building over.
You can, but you're going to have to
crash into it.
Right. You're going to have to get approval through FAA.
Gotcha.
Yeah. It can happen, and we allow them taller, but they need to be zoned for industrial purposes, so it needs to be in M1 or M2 district.
Commissioner Barbie.
Yeah, seem to be getting a lot of cell towers around, and I was wondering if it's because we're going from the 4G network to the 5G network. They're cutting back on the distance they can actually perform the high-quality transmission, I guess. So it looks from these maps, we're getting quite a few dotted places going on. But,
That's right.
and I bring this up now because, you know, I feel like this is a moot point for us voting on something like this. When the big government gets involved, it takes away our rights as politicians on a local level.
Sure.
But I do see a need for it, but I hope that the cell tower companies begin to realize we can't have the whole county dotted in cell towers everywhere.
Well, you've correctly identified some of the issues. Part of it's the change in technology going from 4G to 5G. The other is just the fact that there's so many more of us using them. You can imagine the exponential growth in cell usage. I bet one of the best examples is if you have one of those Ring doorbells or something like that, and you're going to be at work and you want to see what's happening, or did UPS actually drop the package off at my house or whatever, you can check that, but that's going through that cell network. So that's just an example. I mean, you want to change the thermostat before you get home, you do that now, through your phone. So all that's going to be routed through. So the usage has grown exponentially. So that's part of the issue. The planning board, I'll go ahead and say this, is taking kind of a look at this because of what you said. Is it a moot point that we bring this before you every time there's another cell tower to be considered? So it's a discussion that the planning board's having right now. And
if I may answer,
do we need to do something about that?
And the chairman, I think, is going to allow me to have a motion on that in a few minutes. To directly answer what you were asking, Mike, these towers aren't for 5G. These
right.
These don't have it. 5G towers or 5G antennas are going to be more like something this size that mounts on top of a light post downtown or on top of a building. The higher you get in bandwidth, the lower you get in range. So 5G towers, 5G repeaters are going to have to be incredibly populous to be effective. So they'll be everywhere, but they'll be tiny. They won't be on towers because towers won't do any good. Being 200 feet away from a 5G transmitter, you don't even get service if you're standing underneath it. These towers can transmit 4 to 6 miles on 4G LTE. I do have a thing I want to talk about, but I'll wait till we hit the end of the hour discussion.
Because obviously we've called for a public hearing to be held for this particular event tonight. So, thank you.
We do need a public hearing.
Yes.
Okay. I'll open the public hearing. Is there anyone here to speak for this particular cell tower? You would state your name and
we know who she is.
tell us what you want to talk about tonight.
Well, it's good to see everybody again. Mr. Chairman, Board, my name is Victoria Farmer. I am from Ottawa, Tennessee. Thank you again for allowing me to speak this evening on behalf of this request for zoning approval for the new telecommunications facility. Verizon Wireless is continually improving its network to best meet the needs of this growing community. This is a proposal by Verizon Wireless to specifically increase the coverage in the area of Oakboro within the compliance of Section 614 of Stanley County regulations. The design of this telecommunication facility will include space for co-location by future wireless providers, and it meets or exceeds all the radio frequency emission standards as required by the FCC. As he said earlier, we live in a society where our phones have become an essential part of our daily living. The benefits of this site to this area of Stanley County will go beyond just convenience for our residents and businesses. Quality wireless services have become essential to the critical infrastructure and necessity for public safety and first responders. I ask that the consideration of this application should not be limited to examining how Verizon Wireless has mitigated any negative impact through design and location. The positive impact and benefit of this site should be given full weight as well. The new site will work toward meeting the ever-expanding infrastructure needs of residents and visitors to Stanley County and will provide much-needed access to emergency services. Given the design, the location, and the benefits that will be provided by this proposed site, in compliance with the requirements and the conditions and specifications of Stanley County Ordinance, North Carolina statutes, and all applicable federal laws, Verizon respectfully requests approval for its application. Does anyone have any questions or comments for me at this time?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone here to speak against this cell tower? Don't see anyone coming forward. Is there anyone else that would like to speak in favor of the cell tower? Don't see anyone. I will close the open public hearing and ask Board of Commissioners, what is your pleasure?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I move that the ZA 21-10, a request by Cellco Partnership to apply the telecommunications tower overlay district to a 10,000 square foot portion of a parcel owned by Lynn Hunter on Austin Road be approved. This proposed tower location meets the requirements of the zoning ordinance and is inconsistent with the promotion of growth and development as prescribed by the Stanley County Land Use Plan.
Second.
And we have a first, Commissioner Eford, a second by Vice Chairman Jordan. Any other discussion? Let's vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 7-0.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I'd like to have a brief discussion and make a motion on a subject related.
Okay, Vice Chairman Jordan, go for it.
We have talked with, the planning board reached out to me, and we would like to form a committee of presumably 3 from this Board of Commissioners and 3 from the Board of Planning, or the Planning Board, with the goal of eventually being able to zone cell phone towers by right. And I'm going to explain that to the general public, just in case, I know y'all know what that means, but they don't. The idea would be that we would collectively get together with our 6 people from both boards, talk about all the zoning requirements that we have now, schedule a series of public meetings where the public is invited to attend, maybe one in the West End, maybe one here in Albemarle, maybe one somewhere else, and let the public come and give us what they would like to see in a set of cell tower regulations. And we take these together as a committee, come up with a set of guidelines that the committee approves, and then we can zone cell phone towers by right. If a cell phone tower company were to come to Stanley County, as long as they met all of that criteria, keeping in mind that we can make that criteria as tough as we wanted it to be. If you want to make setbacks 400 feet, we can do that. If you want to make, they've got to be painted pink, we can do that. But as long as they meet all those requirements, tower would be approved. If for some reason they don't meet a requirement, they would get a variance from the Board of Adjustment. But it would stop both the planning board and the zoning board and our, planning zoning board and our board from having to go through a lot of headache with both sides. It would be more efficient for us, and the county could use this as a way to, quite frankly, make some more revenue in that process. So I'd like to make a motion that we form a 6-man committee, 3 from our board and 3 from planning and zoning, with the goal of coming up with a plan to zone cell phone towers by right. I need the board's sign off on that.
Question about how are you going to determine who will be on this committee?
That's up to the board. I don't necessarily think we have to decide that as part of the motion. I have been asked to be on, and I'd like to be. It is my technology field. My natural inclination was Commissioner Eford, because I know this has been done in Locust and he's familiar with the process. My other natural inclination was Mike Barbie, because he hates everything I do. So he's going to fight hard against me no matter what. So if me and Mike can come to an agreement on it, everybody should like it.
I'll second it so we could have a discussion.
Okay, we got a first and a second that there's going to be a committee to discuss zoning requirements for cell towers. 3 from the Board of Commissioners, 3 from the Planning and Zoning Board. And let's discuss it. And
Quick question, I assume they have, I don't know off the top of my head, they have 7 members on the other board?
Correct. Yes, sir.
And a question maybe for the attorney, how does doing this locally, how will that override any federal or state?
It would not. What we do now doesn't override federal or state. We can't do that. But what it does do is, if we were to set the checks and balances, however high that we wanted to, and let's assume that we made them very high. For example, our board agrees, our new committee agrees to put in the cell tower regulation that you've got to have setbacks of 450 feet, which is a big number. That's 4 times what's currently required. And you got to have this and this and this and this. If Verizon met all of that, and they knew what those requirements were coming in the door, they know what they're looking for then. They know what kind of land to pick. They don't waste their time, their money, or our time and our money trying to come up with something that we're going to say no to. So we pretty much give them the criteria in advance. That means we would vote yes. And if they meet all that criteria, then we grant it, without having to come to the planning or zoning, without having to come to us. And if they don't, then we can send it to Board of Adjustment and they'll give a variance or not.
would the committee, after the requirements are put on paper, would the committee then seek approval through the Board of Commissioners and the Zoning Board?
That was my actual question. My assumption is that it would have to go through, is that right, County Manager Lucas, that both boards would have to approve it?
It's a text change.
You're changing your zoning ordinance, so you'd have to have a public hearing before you could do that, and you'd have to vote on it.
Planning and zoning would have to have one?
Planning and zoning is really, their meetings are more of a, they're advisory board. They're not really they advertise and they allow for public feedback and input, but there's a statutory requirement that you have to have a public hearing for us.
It's no different than the text change that you had with the short-term rentals.
Right.
And things like that, so you.
And the goal here, the goal here is that we want to proactively solicit all the public engagement the public wants. I mean, don't wait. If you want to reach out, I'm volunteering. I'm one of the ones you can contact. I'd rather have, and it's probably going to take us 6 months, Mr. Remsburg, you think? Probably to have three big public meetings?
Sure, well, heading toward the holidays, so I'd say certainly 3 to 6 months, but 4 or 5 months, 6 months, somewhere in there.
I would suggest at least 5 meetings, north, south, east, west, Albemarle, if you're going to do that.
I believe if we do that, planning board staff has to, we have to give all the same public notices as normal, just like for a public meeting. Mr. Remsburg, that would be on your staff to handle. You'd have to have somebody take minutes. Okay. Are you okay with that, sir?
We're fine.
Okay. Then I'm fine with that. So have at least 5 meetings, or five meetings, 5 public comment sections to take feedback.
Yes, sir, Commissioner Shuto.
Can I just make a motion now that we go ahead and take a vote to form the committee? And then also that if the other the 3 folks that Commissioner Jordan recommended to be on the committee, if they accept it, I'm okay with, put that in the motion too. I'm making a motion to form the committee, and then the people have on the committee is Commissioners Jordan, Barbie, and Eford, if they're okay with that, with being on that committee.
I think you covered that in a second, my motion.
Well, he's naming the board members. I know I asked you, but I guess what we really need to do is need you to amend the motion. Is that correct? Jenny?
Need to amend mine.
Yes, please.
I'd like to amend my motion to include the named individuals as myself, Commissioner Scott Easter, Commissioner Mike Barbie, and 3 people from the planning board who will be appointed by the planning board.
Any other discussion? We need a second? Did you second? Okay. Other discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Congratulations, gentlemen. Item number 6, Liberty Hill Booster Station recommendation. Presenter is Dwayne Wingo, our
Good evening, Commissioners, and thank you.
Utility Director.
Stanley County Utilities received the, it's in your bid packages, or excuse me, in your packages, the certified bid tabulations and recommendation to award from Chambers Engineering for the new Liberty Hill Booster Pump Station. The bid opening was conducted by or in the County Manager's Conference Room on October 22nd, 2021, and 7 bids for the project were received, opened, and read out loud. The low bidder was the NJR Group Incorporated from Stanley County in the amount of $1,412,050.50. The Liberty Hill Booster Station is necessary to accommodate the increased water demands to the Western Stanley Water Distribution System brought about by the relocation of Charlotte Pipe and Foundry. Their stated industry and water demand requirements are 455,000 gallons per day, which is what the number we've been working off of. These requirements have made it necessary to replace the existing Liberty Hill Booster Station with a new booster station located on Newsom Road off of Highway 2427. The acquisition of the property has already been in progress and has been completed at no cost to Stanley County. A project ordinance was previously approved by the Stanley County Board of Commissioners to complete the engineering, design, and construction administration for the project. A revised project ordinance with accompanying budget amendment is attached. Please note that it is requested available general fund balance be used for the construction until a loan can be secured for the project. Once the bank loan is secured, the general fund will be reimbursed from the debt proceeds for any expenditures to date. The projected sale of water to Charlotte Pipe and Foundry via the town of Oakboro will be sufficient to pay the debt service on the loan. Please find attached the required reimbursement resolution in addition to the amended project ordinance and associated budget amendments. The staff recommends award of the project to the NJR Group Incorporated and approval of the revised project ordinance, approval of the budget amendments 2022-030 and 2022-031, and approval of the general fund reimbursement resolution. And I'll open it up to questions.
Questions?
Mr. Chairman, I have a question. Dwingo, will the current Liberty Hill pump station be dismantled or just used as a standby, or?
We do not intend to dismantle it. One of the reasons is because it is a point source where we introduce chlorine into the system to keep the water fresh that is delivered to Western Stanley. We do not intend to put that chlorine unit in the new station. What we have noticed is there is some oxidation inside that building to the piping, which will go in there and repaint, resurface, get it back to a good condition. But we want to keep that chlorine injection point at a separate location than this new station.
So it would still be used as a backup if you needed to for any reason, or just?
It would be more exclusively for the chlorine injection. Those pumps will be taken offline because they're not going to be able to meet the demand.
All right, thanks, sir.
And Dwayne, you're speaking of the NJR Group. That's a local company, correct?
Yes, sir. They're out of Stanley County. They also did the Palestine-Baden booster station here recently. That's been completed. Very nice project. Looks very, very good if you walk inside of it. And we got a lot of bells and whistles in there.
And that bid amounts $1,412,000.
Yes, sir.
$50.50.
Yes, sir. And I could add that, we've looked at the math with regards to what we're buying the water from the city of Albemarle, and we've looked at the math of what we're going to be selling it through Oakboro at an industrial rate. We're generally projecting a net revenue based on about a 240-day operation a year from Charlotte Pipe. It may be more than that, but the net revenue is about $178,000 per year in thereabouts. And then if we do this loan at a 20-year amortized rate, at 2% rate, we're looking at a $91,000 a year debt service, interest and principal. So we should be well in the black with regards to once Charlotte Pipe is online having the revenue to pay for the debt service.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, thank you, Dwayne. Need a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I make the motion that we award the project to the NJR Group and that we approve the revised project ordinance and the budget amendments 2022-0230, I'm sorry, 030 and 2022-031, and approval of the general fund reimbursement resolution.
Okay, have a second? Okay, Commissioner Barbie, second. Any other discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you.
I believe you're still up, Dwayne.
Yes, sir, I am. The next item is Bost Road award and approval of the budget amendments. Stanley County received the attached certified bid tabulations and recommendation to award from Chambers Engineering for the Bost Road Water Main Extension Project. The bid opening was conducted in the County Manager's Conference Room on October 14th, 2021, and 3 bids for the project were received, open, and read aloud. Low bidder was RNF Construction, LLC from York, South Carolina, in the amount of $312,265.05. The project was a rebid due to the apparent low bidder failing to acknowledge an addendum that was attached to the contract on the previous bid that was conducted on September 16th. In that bid, there were 7 bidders. Substantial increases in PVC piping material and supply chain delays have inflated the cost of construction from the original bid estimate. A project ordinance was previously approved by the Stanley County Board of Commissioners to complete the engineering, design, and construction administration for the project. A revised project ordinance with accompanying budget amendments are attached to note a request that general funds be used to cover the construction cost. Staff recommends award of the project to RNF Construction and approval of the revised project ordinance and approval of the budget amendments 2022-032 and 2022-033.
Questions?
Mr. Chair,
Sir.
I'd like to make a motion to award the project to RNF Construction LLC and approval of the revised project ordinance and approval of budget amendments 2022-032 and 2022-033.
We have a motion by Commissioner Almond, second by Commissioner Furr. I do have a question.
Yes, sir.
What do we know about RNF Construction LLC?
They've done a lot of work around the Charlotte metropolitan area. I have checked around. They're a very reputable contractor. We're actually got some other smaller projects we may be soliciting them to do while they're in town. They have their own boring equipment. They do their own bores. They bid on a lot of projects. So from what I've researched, they're a very good, reputable firm.
In this kind of work, is there any kind of bond that we require?
Yes, sir. There's a performance bond and a payment bond. The performance bond is 100% of the project cost. So if they default, we do have the option to exercise the performance bond to get the money back and use another contractor to finish if necessary.
Thank you. Any other questions before we vote?
I have a question,
Yes,
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Eafford.
I was going to ask you on the Liberty Hill one too, but what's the timeline of the Boss Road and the Liberty Hill pump station?
Liberty Hill will take probably 9 months to complete at the start of construction. It is anticipated based on what has gone on at Palestine. Boss Road, what we're hearing is anywhere, depending on how fast they can get the PVC pipe in. There's some delays out there, but we're hoping to have it in once they start within 3 months, once they start construction, because it's not that big of a job.
Any other questions? Got a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dwayne. County Manager Lucas, Public Safety Radio Replacement Financing. We need a public hearing and a bank resolution, please.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Per statute 160A-20, public hearing is required for the county to enter into an installment financing agreement with a financial institution per the LGC. We published the notice in the Saturday-Sunday edition of the SNAP on October 16th, 17th. You also must approve the attached bank financing resolution to enter into the agreement with Pinnacle Bank. There's a draft of that financing agreement included as well. The two items you'll need to take action on this evening is to, one, hold the public hearing, and two, consider and approve the financing resolution with the bank, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Declare the public hearing to be open. Is there anyone here to speak for? Seeing no one, is there one here to speak against? Seeing no one, declare the public hearing closed. It's a pleasure to the board.
Mr. Chairman, I make the motion that we approve the financing resolution with the bank.
I have a motion by Vice Chairman Jordan, a second by Commissioner Almond to approve the financing with Pinnacle as presented. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Thank you, County Manager Lucas. Brings us to the consent agenda. Hopefully everybody's looked over it. Do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda, or are there changes or any item that would like to be pulled?
Make the motion we approve as presented.
Okay, motion to approve is presented. Do we have a second? Second by Commissioner Furr. Any other discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Board comments, announcements, committee reports. I'm going to start with Commissioner Asciutto.
Okay, some update in the world of sports in high school in Stanley County. Just want to give some shout outs, first of all, to at the Yadkin Valley Conference cross-country meet that was hosted by Greystone last week. Lexi Goody and J.C. Noble, they were all conference runner for the Yadkin Valley. But they were the only two in the conference that made all conference for 4 years in a row. And I give them a shout out because both were seniors, both had injuries, and they were able to make it. And those two girls were racing each other in my races since they were like 7 or 8 years old. So they're good friends and they did well. And then at the cross-country meets this weekend, the regionals, shout out to West Stanley, boys and girls. They won the 1A Midwest region, the 2A Midwest regionals, and they're heading to state this weekend. And shout out to Natalie Almond and James Shue. They both won the girls and the boys race, so they were the conference runners of the year. And in the 1A Midwest, the Greystone girls, they won the region, and they're heading to state. And Amberly Brown was the champ, and then the South boys came in second, and Joshua Honeycutt and Davis Rice, they set PRs, and they finished in 4th and 5th place. And they did have a lot of all-region runners. I just don't have them all here. And real quick shout-out about J.C. Noble again. She also played tennis, and she won the 1A state championship tournament. So J.C. Noble is the 1A state champ for tennis in North Carolina. So good job.
Commissioner Eford.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Not this Thursday, but next Thursday, 11th, is Veterans Day. Just want to recognize all our veterans. There will be a Veterans Parade on Thursday the 11th. I think it starts at 11 o'clock in Oakboro. They're gathering, I believe, at 9:30. Ask all the veterans to come out and support that event. If you have any questions, you can contact Bo Almond. Bo is our Veteran Service Officer here in Stanley County. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Commissioner Barbie.
Yes, I'll touch on Mr. Commissioner Shudo's thing. That they also had a 2021 softball championship ring designation at the middle of the football game Friday night, and all the 21 champions were there except for one. And but Anyway, I want to give a shout out and recognize them. And thank everyone.
Thank you. Yeah. Vice Chairman Jordan.
I want to say thanks to our staff. I don't know, y'all out there, that's a lot of stuff to put together for a meeting. You know it's big when Bill walks in and said, "How many trees you killed this week?" I'm still pushing for iPads, I'm just saying. But, they make us look good, but when I first sat out there on that side a couple times before I ran, I wanted to see how it was done. You guys sounded so smart up here. Then I realized it's all Tyler and Jenny. When they sit there, I vote, we make the motion to approve, and they spell out this long, it's all written right here. We didn't come up with that, somebody else did. So thank you for making us sound so professional. And I appreciate my coworkers. I know COVID's still here, but it's starting to feel like it's done. It's starting to feel like it's, at least it's tamped down in Stanley County for a little bit and people can breathe. But don't give up. Keep being vigilant. We need to keep pushing those numbers down. That's it for me.
Thank you. Commissioner Allman.
Last meeting, I mentioned the Fall Festival at New London. They had over 3,000 people there on Saturday night at their new park. So just shout out to Tate and the crew down at New London.
Commissioner Furr.
I had my pleasure to participate in a couple places. First off was the Stanley County Sheriff Trunk or Treat on Friday night. Gave out some 700 bags of candy to the children. Then Sunday night for the Locust Fall Festival, I give out some 800 bags out there.
The dental clinic thanks Commissioner Furr.
Dental clinic thanks. Out in Locust, there was estimated some 3,500 people come through. It was a pile of people. And everybody had a good time, and just give a shout to Locust and to the Sheriff Department. Thanks very much for doing what they done and to put this together. And the third thing is, on November the 9th, at 6 o'clock at Henson's Auction House, they having a auction out there for new auctioneer students that are going to be given their first auction of items that they've got to produce and to sell, and all the money is going to go to St. Jude's. So I'm inviting everyone to come out there and to kind of make the new auctioneers feel welcome and try to help raise some money to go to St. Jude's Hospital. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't have anything. I'm going to ask our county manager, would you like to say anything? I think it's been a Monday all day, so he's ready to go home with the rest of the associates. And we do appreciate the associates that work here at Stanley County and do a lot for the citizens of Stanley County, and we do appreciate you all. Would like to have a motion to adjourn. Commissioner Furr and Commissioner Allman. All in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Meeting adjourned.